Rory needs no introduction. We're all here in many ways because of Rory. He's obviously the mastermind and the driving force UK Biobank. So, Professor Sir Rory Collins.
Thanks, John. Well, thank you very much for the 400 or so people who came along to the meeting in person, and I hope that you'll stay on for drinks reception afterwards so that we can interact more with you. And also to the 900 people online who've been watching the presentation and asking questions. And just to say that the talks will go on to the website so that people can go back and look at those. As others have done, I want to also thank the 500,000 participants in UK Biobank, but also to comment on their altruism and to ask the question to you and to them about what more could we realistically get them to do to help increase the value of UK Biobank. The fact that about a quarter of them are willing to travel up to 100 miles to spend 5 hours in an imaging assessment visit, and that 2/3 of those are then willing to come back and do it again, I think gives you a sense of the potential to do more. Could we get them all to come back, get biological samples so we can look at trajectories over time, assess them and look at ways in which their health is changing, their frailty, test them to see, in terms of stresses, are they on the cusp of getting various health outcomes? Would they be willing to put apps on their phone that would allow us to track them? Keystrokes, their voice patterns, their movement. Could we use their movement around the world to link into environmental exposure data? I think these are the kinds of things that we want to start asking the participants about how much more could be done. I mean, clearly I want to thank the funders, the lead funders, the Medical Research Council and the Wellcome Trust, plus the British Heart Foundation, Cancer Research UK, and NIHR, but especially the Medical Research Council. You'll hear from John Ardell in a minute, but the recognition that what was a beautiful robot 20 years ago when the storage facility was built is now aging much faster actually than the participants, and is struggling to pull out samples to take advantage of the opportunities to turn the samples into data. The genetic data, the omic data we've heard about as well. And so, although we're really open to doing more assays, that the infrastructure is an obstacle to that, and the support of the MRC going to UKRI and to the government to get substantial investment in new facility that will allow samples to be pulled out much more rapidly and to take advantage of those opportunities. The funders have funded the core, but there have also been substantial external funding from academics who've got grants. You heard from Charlotte about the grant to do the infectious markers. Leicester, Nilesh Samani got a grant to do telomere assays, but also industry that have funded genetic analyses, sequencing, omic assays. And so I think thanking the academic and industry funders of those enhancements that have funded assays, that are now funding repeat imaging. And we calculated that each pound of core funding has leveraged over the last 5 years about £12 of additional investment in these enhancements of the resource. But the other kind of altruistic community that has contributed hugely to UK Biobank is the academic community itself. UK Biobank's job is the builder, but it's the academic community that is the architect of what we build. And so we've seen that with the genetic analyses. Initially, Peter Donnelly led a group that helped to design with Affymetrix the genetic array. Matt Hurls has been continuing to lead a working group on genetics that has guided us in terms of exome, whole genome, and additional potential assays like long-read sequencing, epigenetic assays. The imaging came out from the imaging community. Paul Matthews has chaired that working group, but there were a number of people across different imaging modalities who have helped to design the brain imaging, the cardiac imaging, and that has been enormous input from the research community. What more could we be doing in imaging? And so I think that's the question that we want to put to you. What more should UK Biobank be doing? Challenge us to build more. What more should we be doing to enhance the exposures in the participants? Get everybody back in order to be able to look at trajectories in terms of epigenetic or omic exposures. Get people to have apps or activity monitoring. 100,000 people agreed to wear activity monitors some time back. Should we be trying to do that again? Should we be trying to do that in more of the participants? 2/3 of those we asked were willing to wear an activity monitor for a week. And as I say, should we be trying to link into apps to get more information about their exposures? You heard from Naomi and others about the health outcomes, the linkages, the web questionnaires that get at health outcomes that don't get picked up through health linkage, such as mental health, pain, sleep disorders. But what about going into greater depth? Again, it was touched on, but having identified that people have got dementia, should we be bringing them all back and really assessing them in depth? Should we be doing imaging in, say, the 30,000 people that we identify during the next 5 years with dementia and really characterizing what kind of dementia they have? So again, what are the things that we could do to not only enhance the exposures in the participants, genetic, omic, lifestyle, environmental, but also to get much greater depth and precision about the health outcomes that people have. And again, we really need the academic community, both in industry and in universities and beyond, to say what more should be done. I do want to also thank the UK Biobank team, the people in the laboratories who deal with all these samples, doing assays or providing samples for assays. In the imaging centres, the 4 imaging centres in Bristol, in Reading, in Stockport, and in Newcastle, it is non-trivial to be imaging 60,000 participants that they've got through so far. And the dedication of the teams that are doing these imaging assessments is extraordinary. The participant call centre in our coordinating centre in Stockport, dealing with the participants and helping them to understand what's going on and encouraging to engage and informing them about what UK Biobank is doing. So again, we're looking at ways in which we can engage more with the participants and learn more about what they would be willing to do. And the participant call centre and our communications team, and thank you to Jenny Mills who organises this great conference, are really looking at ways to do that. I want to end, though, with the research analysis platform. So as part of the funding for the whole genome sequencing project, it was recognised by the MRC and the Wellcome Trust that the scale of the data were going to be such that the idea of downloading the data to researchers around the world was going to become unfeasible. And so as part of that funding, we were in the position to establish a cloud-based research analysis platform. And DNA Nexus, who've been here in the meeting and who will be around outside afterwards, have, I think, been absolutely fabulous in building a platform and extending the value of that platform and the usage of that platform in response to the researchers that are using it. And already some 3,000 researchers who are registered with UK Biobank are using that cloud-based research analysis platform. It's based on the Amazon Web Service, and Amazon, again, have also been extraordinarily supportive of UK Biobank. And in particular, and something I want to draw to the attention of people in the room and online, is that Amazon have made available $500,000 per year of free compute for early career researchers and for researchers in low and middle income countries. And we know that that's not yet being taken up as much as it could be. So we're really keen to encourage you and your teams to take advantage of that. We're sort of interested not just in the 30,000 researchers that are already using the resource, but the tens of thousands of researchers that are not using the resource. How do we get researchers in other parts of the world? How do we get researchers in other disciplines moving out of the biological disciplines and into the data science disciplines to really start to use these data? And we hope that we can increase the diversity of the research communities that use UK Biobank. So thank you very much for coming along. Really welcome you challenging us and coming up with ways in which we can make the resource better. And I'll now hand over to John Iredale from the Medical Research Council to conclude the meeting. But again, it's an opportunity to recognise the prescience 20 years ago of the Medical Research Council and the Wellcome Trust in establishing UK Biobank, in continuing to support UK Biobank, so that we do have this unique resource in terms of not just scale, increasing depth, but 15 years already duration of follow-up, and their original vision, which we've tried to carry out, of access to researchers around the world. So thank you very much for all your contributions to UK Biobank.